said, it's impressive to see so many people on a Friday afternoon after lunch. And I'm just pleased. I'm pleased that you all came. I'm sure you've been enjoying the STENT conference. I always have as a participant. This year's theme, as you know, is building a community of supervisors for equity and justice. And this particular session is a storyline, I would say, about observing for equitable teaching practices. I am Conni Campbell. I'm a coordinator of the Education Specialist Credential Program at the San Diego County Office of Education. We, as a school, we're considered a school district as a county office. And school districts can offer teaching credentials if you weren't aware of that. So we are a district-based credential program. Our unit is called Teacher Effectiveness and Preparation, and we offer all kinds of teacher preparation programs in addition to this education specialist credential. And if you're interested, this link is live, and I'm going to put in the chat our resources so that you have them handy. And in the resources is this very slide deck. Let me get that for you so that you can follow along if you'd like to. Okay, so this is the entire folder of resources, and these are all the things that we're going to talk about today to include this slide deck. So if you wanted to pull the slide up another time, or even today, there'll be live links all throughout that we'll be working through. And if you've been attending sessions prior to this, you're probably already aware that there's some active parts of these presentations, and you will have an opportunity to participate with us, and I hope you will. So our education specialist credential started in 2019. So we've only been at it for a few years. We offer the mild to moderate, extensive support needs, early childhood special education, and deaf and hard of hearing credentials. So I'm just going to share, it's really more like a story of how we've enhanced our equitable teaching practices based on looking at our data and realizing that we really had some work to do, to be honest. But we're going to start by having you talk about yourselves, actually. So we're going to form a group of 4. And it's a virtual soccer ball pass. We do this in person. When I do workshops in person, we actually get up out of our seats with a soccer ball and do a little pass, and it's super fun. But I think it can be fun in this venue as well. So you're going to pass the ball to the first person in your group of 4, the virtual soccer ball, to answer these prompts. Where do you work? What is your role? And why are you here at this particular session? And then after the first person answers the prompt, you'll pass the ball to the next person in the group, and you'll have about 8 minutes to do that. I want to make sure, Lisa, that
do you want my help setting up breakout rooms?
I do have breakout room capacity. How many folks do we have?
We have 37, including you.
Great. So here we go. We're going to create 9 rooms. So you should be getting an invitation to a breakout room right now. And if you'll press on that button that invites you to a breakout room, you'll be answering those 3 prompts. You'll pass the virtual ball across the room. Where do you work? What is your role? And why are you here at this particular session? And we'll pop around and be able to listen to you as well. We'll have about 8 minutes.
We just set a timer. Or you have?
Yeah, I do. Thank you. Oh, okay. Well, if you have something there, that would be great.
Cool. Yeah, I'll do that. I know it's hard to manage everything. And for some reason, I'm not put into breakout rooms. So that's okay, because sometimes people join late and I can put them into a room.
Oh, that's interesting. Let's see. So we've got all those have joined.
Colleen and Karen, do you want to join your room? If you came in late, we can. I see Colleen
Yeah. Let me look at
in one.
Oh,
And
no.
there
Yes.
we go. Colleen. I see someone just joined late. So
Okay.
Terry, let me put you in room one. You think that's okay?
Mm-hmm. Hi, Terry. We just went into breakout rooms to talk about ourselves. So we're just asking, where do you work and what is your role and why you've chosen this session. So do you see any invitation on your screen for a breakout room?
Well,
Quite.
they all have 4. So do you want to just talk with us, Terry? And maybe someone else will join in a minute.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, we can just
I'd love that.
keep you here. Correct. See, there's a few people popping in, so we can all be
Nice.
here.
I love this. Thanks, Lisa.
Okay, that works.
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
They popped out. Maybe they were signed and then they
we had
had
Nellie and she disappeared. Okay.
maybe she got food,
That's all right. We want to know about you, Terry. So where do you
Yeah.
work?
Okay, I'm work for UC Irvine and I'm a supervisor of single subject ELA candidates in their Masters of Art and Teaching program. So they're getting a credential and a master's at the same time.
Nice. And what did you do before you became a supervisor?
I taught high school English at University High in Irvine for like 30 plus years. And then I was union president for Irvine Teachers Association for 6 years. And I do a lot of political stuff for public education. That's why I'm late. I was on the phone. We're trying to find another candidate for the Orange County Board of Ed, which is filled with crazy people.
Wow.
So I do a lot of that as well. And I'm here at the whole conference just because I want to stay up to date with the newest, most current research and knowledge and understanding of because I know education is changing super fast as it did during COVID and everything else. And this particular session, because honestly, the other one was about STEM and I'm English education. So that made it an easy choice.
That means Lisa scheduled well.
Yeah, I know. I
Yes.
think that one in particular, people.
I
Yeah,
liked going to the one about climate change and interdisciplinary. I loved learning that. And
Yeah.
and I think a lot of it tended to be focused for elementary, but I saw so much that we can do at the secondary level that
Ooh,
that's cool. I love the interdisciplinary. That's just the way I see things anyway, with music and art and history and literature. That made it fun.
Yeah, I love the way she talked about history and how important it is to.
Yeah, because I used to say, the same thing to my students, and because a lot of them were going to go into science, and I had to say, you have to be able to communicate this to people like me who are not scientists but care. So
That
And
sounds
Debbie, we're in breakout rooms, but we're going to keep you here to talk with us if that's okay.
Yeah. We needed big breakout friends too.
Oh, okay. So is that San Diego County?
Yeah. So I'm from San Diego County Office of Education, and we offer credentials right out of the county office rather than, it's just like a credential coming out of a.
Oh.
Out
So
of
how many teachers are in your
Oh my, we have in our education specialist credential, we have 50 people in their second year and another 75 in our first year program.
Terrific.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And there were more that wanted in and we just filled up quickly. And yeah, so it's so I just it's the intern route. So they're all
Okay.
Every day and getting that credential all at the same time.
So one of my interests is in the costs financially of becoming an educator. And so I'm thinking going through the county office of ed might be more thrifty than
Yeah, Terry, you're so right. I mean, I think
Okay.
that's what can make it an attractive option. Our entire program is $11,000.
And it's a 1 year?
It takes 2 years. The intern route is 2 years. So we want 4 semesters of clinical practice to really make sure that they know what they're doing. Because, you know, they truly are jumping in with very little experience. They have 12 weeks of coursework only, and then they are the teacher of record. And, you know, that route was just designed to fill positions that always remain unfilled.
Which is why you have so many ed specialists, because those are hard to fill.
Mhm.
And
So-
it's okay.
Yeah, I
That's
wouldn't say the cost is too different than, like, I feel like San Diego State's program is very close to that
Mhm.
price.
Mhm.
that's good then. And are they also receiving like a partial salary or anything?
Oh, yes, a full-time salary.
So they get a full-time salary and oh my gosh, because that was a struggle for so many. They're trying to pick up shifts at Starbucks on the
Yes.
weekend and stuff. And a
It's
lot
a
of them were still
route.
living at home.
It's a tough route, though, you know, I mean, that
Yeah.
the nurturing of student teaching and having someone right by your side the entire time is, most would think it's maybe the more better preparation, many would say. But I'll tell you, most of our candidates have been paraeducators for a good long time. And it is
Okay.
so wonderful when someone tells you, I didn't think I'd ever have an opportunity to become a good.
Okay. I think that's a really exciting program,
It's-
especially if they've been in IEP programs. They know what a lot of these strategies are. I love that program. That's terrific.
It is.
Thank you for telling me more about it.
It is good fun.
And
Debbie,
Connie, just aside, the timer went off, so I closed the breakout.
thank you.
Yeah,
Debbie, tell us real quick, where do you work?
Debbie, yeah.
Oh, we aren't hearing you yet.
I'm a new supervisor hello, everybody. I'm a new supervisor at Sac State University, Sacramento.
Oh.
So I'm really excited, a retired teacher after 30 years. So I'm really excited to get into a new phase.
Oh, that's great. Love that.
I did do induction with in Sac City when I was a teacher. So
Oh, that's nice.
yeah.
Good. Well, I think we're all back. I hope that was nice to maybe you met a few new people that do what you do. And I think one of the great things about these conferences is that we end up meeting people that we can connect with. So I need to give you a little context about our program to kind of complete this storyline regarding our journey of supervision and how we are coming to be better at observing for equitable teaching practices and teaching our candidates what those practices actually are. So the mission of our program since our inception of 2019 is to prepare and provide inclusive instruction. So that detailed is that to nurture big thinkers and change agents in special education by reflecting on current practices in the workplace through a lens of justice, inclusion, and belonging, focusing on assets rather than deficits, and understanding the significance of race and culture within education systems. So in the background of this, you know, we really, we were intending to be very clear about our priority about inclusive instruction. Furthermore, our vision that sits under that umbrella of the mission is around 3 domains of teacher practice. And those are that our candidates will know their students academically, socially, and emotionally. Our candidates will plan, deliver, and assess inclusive instruction using distinct methodologies. And our candidates will reflect dispositions that develop effective practice and inspire and nurture the students that they're teaching. And like all of you, if you are a supervisor, the role of our field supervisor is probably very much like yours. And so our field supervisors are called to observe and assess candidate teaching performance during their clinical practice. All right, I'm jumping around here. Our supervisors make 4 formal and 4 informal visits each semester. So that's just the way we do it. And we have some required forms for that. We have a lesson planning template that they need to use. We have observation note-taking sheets for our supervisors and candidate reflection documents. And you're going to take a look at all of those. Our formal and informal observations and post conferences with each intern focus on their implementation of teaching performance expectations, probably just like all of you. If you're in, a teacher preparation program. And then finally, a little bit more context about the coursework itself. We offer classes 2 evenings a week. Each of those classes are different, so they're completing 2 courses at a time. Because we're an intern route to the credential, they're teaching all day in their own classroom. So I was just talking with Terry and Debbie about the intern route. As a county office of education, we're allowed to offer teaching credentials just like universities, but the only route we are allowed to offer is the intern route. So with only 12 weeks of initial coursework, they're allowed to secure a full-time teaching job as the teacher of record, and then they get all that content, their actual coursework along the way, side by side with their full-time teaching job. So they're teaching all day, which is nice because they can take what they're learning and implement it, right away. Our coursework has included a theme. It's ribboned through all of the courses, is this theme of inclusive and equitable teaching. And our candidates are coached to focus on the TPEs that are being taught in the current courses. So if you're going out for an observation, you will expect on that lesson plan that the TPEs of focus will include, if they're in a reading course, it will include a TPE associated with reading. If they're in a methodology course, it would be some, methodology. And, never mind that it's a special ed credential. This applies to any credential. We just happen to be offering special education credentials. And our required lesson plan has a section where candidates describe intentional planning that is equitable and accessible. So I'm gonna, I might have to take my, no, this is okay. I've got all my little things down the bottom of my screen and I'm having a hard time seeing my own presentation. But I want to give you a peek at this, the piece of the lesson plan that specifically asks for them to describe equitable practice. And that piece of the lesson plan is called environment and culture. So how are you, what is your environment and culture in your classroom? How have you developed that through the physical arrangement in your room, the way students are prepared to learn with and from each other, how a variety of cultures are honored, and availability of appropriate resources purposefully supporting the student learning. So I want to take a look at that, the entire lesson plan. Okay, I need to get access here to this next slide. Here it is. Okay. I just want to move all of your wonderful faces over here to a different screen. So let's look at that lesson plan briefly. I want you to see the entire plan. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger. We can see it better. So probably typical of any lesson plan, your candidates are turning into you before you go observe a lesson. We ask them for the California content standards that they'll be using, the ELD standards, and their learning target. How are they going to create engagement in the lesson for their students? The environment and culture, this is the one you just took a little peek at. So how is it that they're honoring the cultures in their room in these different ways? Then they need to describe the instructional strategies they'll use, and they need to utilize the ULD guidelines and higher order thinking skills within that plan. And we link those resources there for them in that plan in case they need that at that point. And then finally, assessment for learning. How will you know how your students are doing along the way? Monitoring assessments, formal and informal, and end of lesson assessment. So they need to describe their thinking behind all of those things. Next, they give us kind of a play-by-play, you know, what's going to happen throughout this 30-minute lesson or 45-minute lesson, teacher actions, student actions, materials and resources. And then after they have planned the lesson, delivered the lesson, and had that reflective conversation with their field supervisor, they will reflect on these questions. And these, I'm going to read them out loud because we've altered them on purpose. So what they had been is what you're seeing here. What worked well in the lesson that I will continue to implement? What feedback did I receive that caused me to rethink some of my practices? Based on your supervisor feedback, what will you do differently with students in subsequent lessons? And finally, what questions am I still pondering about effective instruction in general? So that is what we've been using. So I'm going to go back here and let you know that we thought all of those things were so great, but we actually decided that we weren't getting what we were looking for necessarily. So our problem of practice became, if we're teaching practitioners to prepare and provide inclusive instruction, why aren't we capturing specific evidence of equitable teaching strategies in our observation documents? So our inquiry became, if our coursework is effective, is it effective in that inclusive teaching is being practiced in their classrooms in a way that can be identified and described and reflected on? And we determined that we needed to revise our lesson plan. We needed to add an observation tool that was specific to equity, and even the reflection prompts to more closely align with what we were teaching our candidates in coursework. So we know that when we're observing teaching practice, we're focused on the TPEs. If we're accredited in California, that's what we are looking for. We're assessing practice against the TPEs. And I have that document linked there. But our question is, how do we pick out equitable practices from those 34 pages of TPEs? And especially ed specialists, those TPEs were revised recently, and besides the universal TPEs that general education credentials must meet, the special education credentials not only must meet those, but an entirely additional piece depending on what credential. So for ed specialists, truly it's almost double the amount of TPEs that they need to focus on and teach to during their clinical practice. And I think it was Terry earlier that asked about, oh, is your program 1 year or 2 years? Believe me, it takes 2 years in this to get a handle on that many TPEs. So what we were hoping to do is say, okay, we must focus on the TPEs, of course, but how do we focus on equitable practice and these TPEs? That's a lot for the supervisor to look at. Are they teaching these TPEs? Are they teaching all these equitable practices? So the storyline goes forward. Our supervisors participated in a year of professional development, just like the rest of our county office, right? About equity, belonging, inclusion, diversity. And through that work, we were afforded research and lots of resources and readings. We determined as a team 6 buckets under which we could group specific teaching that would be considered equitable and appropriate and inclusive for the diversity of our learners. So what you're looking at here are those buckets that we came up with as a result of this professional development and all this reading and research. Would anyone be willing to unmute and read those buckets out loud for us?
I'll go.
Thank you.
So creating a safe and welcoming environment, assuring student engagement and belonging, considering resources and text choices, monitoring and assessing student learning, questioning and student-to-student interactions, developing higher order thinking and independence.
Thank you. So, sitting in a room together with our resources and our, best thinking at the time, these were the 6 buckets that we decided to pilot as what we were going to look for during our observations.
I think if I can just comment on that, that to me is so much clearer having those buckets, because this was my problem about being equitable and looking for inclusion, is that it sort of got lost in those other TPEs, and seeing it like this, it's like, yes, I can do that.
Yeah, that's good to hear. And you're so right. I mean, you think about those brand new teachers and those lists and lists of things that they need to be good at. And so we're just trying everything we can to make that more understandable and accessible for them. And you'll see here that next step, Janice, thank you, because you just moved right into our next piece. Now we needed to align these buckets with the TPEs, because we need to have the TPEs as our focal point. So our next step was, well, which TPEs do these practices align with? So we did our research and we took all those TPEs and we determined that these TPEs are covered in these buckets. And if you take a peek, it looks, TPE 5 we know is slim. We really could only align it with one of our buckets, but and we're going to work on that. But at least all TPEs in this first go are covered. But then the next step, of course, is this piece. So those were the TPEs. These are the exact elements of every TPE that we were able to include. So I'm just going to move through them because it's really just for a visual where you can see that it's the universals, the mild mod particular. I'm just giving you an example of one route. We did it with all of our routes. So these are all the TPEs that we were able to align specifically with our buckets. So once we were able to do that, we knew that at the next point, we needed to describe what we would see if a teacher was including any of these practices in their teaching, especially for students who would be considered focus students in the classroom. So here we had these large descriptions. And then we needed to come up with the sub descriptions underneath, which would be, what are you actually seeing if a teacher is creating a safe and welcoming environment? What are you actually seeing if they're assuring student engagement and belonging? So before we show you what we came up with, we'd like to offer you an opportunity to think of practice that you would see if you went into a classroom and were looking for how the teacher was creating a safe environment, how they were monitoring and assessing student learning, how they were developing higher order thinking. So this would be an example of what you're about to do with each other. One of our elements that you just saw in those 6 bullets was that the teacher creates a safe and welcoming environment. An example description of practice for that could be, teacher cultivates the message, we are more alike than we are different. One of our elements is considering resources and text choices. An example descriptor of that is that the teacher creates access to the curriculum by choosing teaching material that represents multiple and diverse students in your classroom in a way that includes them, right? So those example descriptors are an example for you when you go into this quick activity of what you might be thinking about. And really what you're doing is deciding, so this is where we are now. This is at the point in my story. This is what we had. We had these buckets and we came together to develop those bullet points. What will you see, supervisor, if you go in and go, oh yeah, this teacher is considering their resources and their text choices because this is what they did. So when you go into your rooms, if you were going to observe instruction specifically for equitable teaching practices, what are some observable teacher moves that would be evidence that we're just going to have you work on 3 of those 6 bullets. What are the teacher moves that would be evidence that the teacher creates student engagement and belonging? The teacher considers resources and text choices with their own students in mind, their particular students, and that the teacher monitors and assesses student learning in a way that is positive for each student. So in your groups, so we have, we're going to divide you into 5 groups this time. You're going to choose a recorder. You'll contribute to this slide deck that I'm going to share with you in your breakout rooms. Tracy, if you have that slide deck handy, the link to the slide deck, will you put it in the chat?
So how many people do you want in each room, Connie?
So let's divide by 5.
So we have 40 people here now.
Great. So how about 8 rooms?
Okay, perfect.
So when you get to that slide deck, first of all, we want you to be really specific in your teaching descriptions, as if you were really watching a teacher and said, oh, they did this. You're going to claim your color. So your recorder, whoever your recorder is in your room, is going to put their name in the text box of the first color-coded slide. And you'll contribute 1 to 3 descriptions of practice on each of those slides. So let's look at that slide deck real quick. This is what I mean by the color codes. So each of these colored slides is one of those descriptors. So whoever your recorder is that's taking green, one room is going to take green. Throw your name in there so no other people are going to write in your slides. The first of the blue slides, whoever's in that room, you're going to just put your name in there. You're just claiming your color. And then you'll just, as a group, talk about the teacher, what is it? You all have the same prompts. If the teacher was creating student engagement and belonging, what might you see them doing?
Great.
This
I'll
This
open
is
the
so
room.
helpful.
Yeah.
Hang on. One moment. Let me give them I gave them the one to the whole thing. Let me just give them the one to just that there.
Would be awesome in this
good idea.
in the chat. So if everyone can grab it from the chat, but again, only one person in your group will agree to be the recorder so that they can type while you're all talking.
Oh,
So
did I miss my,
we have 10 minutes in your group to talk about these things.
I think I missed my group. I was too busy trying to navigate the other bit.
Let's see. Did everyone get an invitation?
I'm not in a group either.
Okay.
Grace, you're in room 6. So if you go to the breakout room icon, you should find the invitation. Or the breakout rooms on the bottom. Do you see that?
Where it says participants.
I'm trying to think, how do you see the invitation?
Join breakout room.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, but I don't know what.
You're 6.
It just says join breakout room.
And
Yeah.
go ahead and join it. Should take you there, yeah.
It's not working.
Oh, really?
Let's see, can we do a move to?
Yeah, I'll move you to 1. And then maybe you could come back or, okay, let's see. I'll move you to room 1. Oh, and I forgot to set the timer.
Oh, I wrote down 1:15.
Perfect. So we'll stop at 1:25. Okay.
Now, They all captured their slides. That's always the part that I wonder is, you know, if whenever I do like a slide deck share. Here we come. Just watching the numbers coming back in. Here we are. Okay. What fun it was to watch. That's the beauty of these shared docs. I mean, we could watch all the thoughts as they came in and how similar you were to one another. And hopefully you looked around in the slide deck as well to see what other folks were saying. So we did be able to see what you came up with, and hopefully you got to see what each other came up with. And the great thing is this is exactly what we did as a team. You know, we came together and got some best thinking and got, you know, pared it down. So here's a look at what we came up with just for the first element, and then aligned it to the TPEs, and added a column for the supervisor to describe the practice that they're seeing. So just with regards to this very first element of creating a safe and welcoming environment, these were the pieces, these are what we decided that we would put in our template.
Yeah, we
And
can't see your screen. I think when we came back, you have to
thank
reach there.
you. Thank you. Here we are. Okay, so this is a look at just that first element. And we added this column on the right so that the field supervisor could take their notes about what they were seeing. So we can, and you'll get a look at this entire document momentarily, so you can see what is there and isn't there. We aligned them to the TPEs. And then we gave, oops, a lot of jumping around here. Then we gave the field supervisors some instruction. You know, we held some training for supervisors to talk about how we are going to describe the practice that they're seeing in the right-hand column. So you can imagine as a supervisor, you know, you're looking for generally what you're seeing on the left, but then they're doing those things in a certain way, right? So if they're creating a structure, the third bullet down, a structure to help students feel safe to contribute to class, what did that actually look like? So on the right-hand side, we encouraged supervisors to copy and paste the bullet on the right into the left column, if that's what they're seeing, but then author what they're actually seeing. So as an example, if they were to copy the bullet on the left that says that teachers cultivate the message, we are more alike than we are different, what the supervisor wrote was, you pointed out very clearly the differences as well as the similarities of the characters in the story, and intentionally emphasized the similarities and validated acceptance of each other's differences. So that's just an example of what the supervisor might note in order to show the candidate exactly what did you do that expressed that equitable practice. So here's another example in a different category. We also decided after that first iteration to list the actual TPEs below. And I'll be honest, we did this for not only for the instructors, I'm sorry, for the supervisors, but also for accreditation purposes, that these really are aligned. So the other way that supervisors could choose to do this is that they could just highlight on the left the portions of the TPEs and the descriptors that they were seeing. And then all they had to type was what the teacher was actually doing. So if they highlighted the first and third bullet, what that actually looked like in that particular classroom was that the teacher honored the various cultures of her students by having individual students identify with one of the characters in the read aloud book. So now that we had the new tool, we started with just 2 supervisors using the tool. We had 10 year 2 candidates. So our program is 2 years long. The second year candidates, we had 10 of them across both of those semesters in year 2 with those 2 supervisors for a total of 80 observations using this tool for this entire school year. So we had 80 observations to pull data from. We introduced the revised lesson plan template first, and we'll show you that revision. You saw the one that we started with, and we'll show you the revision because we thought, we can't just observe for something that we're not asking them to plan for. So we altered our planning tool. And that included new prompts also for the post-instruction reflection. We showed you the prompts at the end where after they teach and after they reflect with their supervisor, they answer those prompts. So let's look at the old and the new and take a peek. So you saw the old lesson plan. We'll look at the new lesson plan, which includes a new post-lesson reflection. And just, our document it's one contiguous document. So the candidate plans and then sends this whole document to the supervisor whose observation tool is right there on the next page. And then their reflection is right there on the next page. So it's one piece, it's truly one document that goes back and forth. And then the entire additional observation tool that we completed, which was used by supervisors during those observations, and as you know, are aligned to the TPEs. So let's look at through the documents just here together. We'll just quietly look at those for 3 minutes. And then we'll just stay together this time and have 5 minutes to discuss soccer ball style. We can toss to whoever we want to ask, what do you see in the new lesson plan that asks candidates to describe accessible, equitable, and inclusive teaching practices? What do you see in the new plan that would help that? I just need to escape for a minute because our faces are in front of my words. I move. Oh, there it goes. Yay, I moved you. Oops. Get done with that and slideshow again. Okay, so you're gonna look for 3 minutes. Tracy, can you toss the new lesson plan? It's called new lesson plan in our things into the chat, so it's easy to access. So as we look for these quiet 3 minutes, what do you see in the new lesson plan that might be an improvement and that asks candidates to describe their equitable teaching practices? And then also look at the complete observation tools. Look for what are some descriptions of practice that might be missing. Maybe you came up with some things just now that aren't in our tool that you go, oh, that actually probably should be in there. And in the new lesson plan at the bottom are the new reflection prompts. Make sure and take a look at those. And then if you could click on this feedback tool, what could still be improved upon from what you're looking at? We would love to hear from you. You do this constantly. You do this every day. We would love to know. What are you seeing that might be an improvement? So if you would want to give us some feedback about that, that would be great. And that's another link that we'll toss in the chat. So let's just take a few minutes, just quiet minutes. It's 2:23. We'll stop in just a couple of minutes and then we'll talk a little bit. So we're coming upon the end of our time together. So I just thought I'd invite anyone to just make any comments about the planning tool, the observation documents, the reflection prompts. What are you seeing that might help candidates understand more what these equitable practices look like? And therefore, the supervisors would be able to see this in motion.
I liked it because it's way shorter than the one ours have. Ours is really long. I also like the running clock so that they're looking at time there when they're doing their lessons, because I feel a lot of times that doesn't happen. And I really like the higher order thinking skills that you have there.
Okay. Clearly we added all this blue verbiage, which they're supposed to replace with their own words. So the old lesson plan only had, the black words instructions, but we're trying to give them some clues and some hints. These are the things you could be thinking about, and they're supposed to replace the blue with their own thoughts and ideas.
I really liked the post-observation reflection prompts that you changed. I thought those were more just would generate reflection.
Right. We
And
felt
critical thinking about their own teaching.
yes, we were hoping not to, replace anything that was meaningful, but we thought we were able to capture, what did I do well? What will I do different, with a twist on, let's look at exactly which students you made an impact on and which students you did not make an impact on. Edwina.
I just have a wondering, and this is just out of the box crazy. I'm wondering if a sidebar could be used next to each section for the blue that you're talking about, so that there's a space for the candidate. I've never seen a sidebar on a lesson plan thing, but I'm just saying, I was just wondering if there was some kind of way that that part could be set aside. But
Interesting.
That's technical. That's technical, but crazy.
I love that kind of stuff. So you're saying maybe these blue words here could be like in a little comment box over here on the side.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, I really like that.
I think someone had me do a survey in some group I was with, and they had something on the side like that, or it popped up in different ways. I don't know.
Right.
We could change it to a landscape rather than portrait format, so we could have more space.
Yep. I like that. Because it looks busy this way, perhaps. Michelle.
Hi, Connie, this is an excellent template to not only for the students to understand what you want, but for the supervisors, because through the last 2 days, a lot of people said they didn't really understand what equity really meant. And with examples, your template really does define it for each supervisor to get an idea. I know at one of the colleges that I'm at, the lesson plan is so long. I mean, it could be 10 pages and it's just too much in there for a 20-30 minute lesson. This seems very structured, but again, clear not only for the student, but also for the supervisor. So that's great.
Well, that's nice. And we did also, I don't know if you understood, you noticed, because, we had links to these UDL guidelines and things. We did put a link to the equitable practices. So we made this tool, and then we thought, let's give this tool to these candidates while they're planning, so they can actually.
And that's excellent. Also, they don't have to go look for it.
Yeah. And I will just say that a lot of our construction here, we have the TPA in mind. So this is the tool they use for their TPA. And we had an 87% pass rate using this tool. So we know that it at least aligned with what the TPA was looking for. I will tell you that we have 1 minute, and I tried to plan so carefully.
I know we have 2 hands raised. I think we can. It's okay if you want to make quick comments, Rebecca and Angela.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to add that not only the supervisors, but the mentor teachers, so that they know what we're expecting of the students, especially in the equity department, because sometimes they're not really sure. Although they signed up to do it, I'm not
Mhm.
really sure what and they may not be doing it in their classroom. So it gives them a little comfort as to, hey, this is what we expect our students to do.
That's a great point too. I hadn't really even thought about that, Rebecca. Angela. Oh, we're not hearing you quite yet.
Unmute.
The first portion of the lesson plan, the first elements are spot on as far as specific things the field supervisors should look at for equity and accessibility and inclusion. Everything that has to do with ELD standards, vocab, terminology, so that somebody who might not be very proficient in academic vocabulary, the teacher should be able to pick up on that. And then lastly, the reflection on assessment results is a good way for the teacher candidate to know what he or she needs to improve on. If the assessment results were not quite what she was hoping to attain for the learning objectives.
Ah, that's interesting. Thank you for that contribution. So the only last thing I thought I'd share is that, you know, this was a pilot. We only did it with a certain number. And I'm going to revise this a little bit because our time is up. But I just thought I'd show you quickly what our candidates were doing between the first semester and the second semester. And I'll make this just a little bit bigger. And then all it's doing for us is saying, what do we need to hone in on? So this is the finished tool, but I used it also to collect data. What do we need to hone in on? Because we're not seeing these practices in our candidates now that we've even shown them what we're looking for, revised things. So this is just telling you out of 80 observations, how many observations of those 80 did we see creating a safe space? And which ones did we see less of? So you'll see here, U6.2, that's a TPE. 30% was kind of our marker where we said, ooh, we better talk about that one. So we highlighted that on the left side. We just did this for ourselves. This was really strong, student engagement and belonging, but we talk about that all the time, right? I mean, that's, if I were to look through our courses, that's something we talk about constantly, and it's reflecting, at least it's reflecting in our data. So the least strong was right here, 4.1. So we're highlighting it. So in the end, this tool we're giving to our instructors, saying, you know, these are the things that we still need to embellish and look for. And the supervisors also have this to make sure that when they're helping the candidate plan their lessons, how can you incorporate this piece about learning needs and assessment data and language proficiency status? So you'll see in this document, and you have it in your shared folder, what we still need to work on. So I always think it's important to acknowledge what those things are. We do have
always be improving.
Yeah, we do have a 5-year plan for our work. We're just in the middle of it, but hopefully at the end, you'll see that we're going to include year 1 teachers and year 2 and all of our supervisors. So
thank you, Connie. That was great.
I'd like to know how much of this I can steal and put into my into my own document.
Michelle, I love it. And I think, well, that's why we shared all the documents as Word document. I mean, as Google documents and not PDFs, please. Anything. And if anybody had feedback, that's my selfish piece of this. If anybody had feedback, we're going to take it and we're going to utilize it.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
That's very kind and generous. So thanks everyone. I shared the link we're going to have a quick debrief. So it's in the chat there. If you have to go, I put the evaluation form and also a Padlet where you can jot down takeaways from the last 2 days, but hopefully I'll see you in the debrief. Thanks for being here. And thank you for your time, everyone, and Connie for designing a really interesting workshop.
Thank you everyone for Friday afternoon. Appreciate that you were here.
It was well worth staying for.
Of this one, do we need to get a new link to debrief?
Yes.
Are we debriefing here?
No, because there's another workshop, so we have to go meet up with them.
Okay.
So I put it in the chat,
Thank you.
maybe up here a ways. I can do it again.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, let me copy the link one more time.
So
Thanks, everyone.
I'm
Okay.
trying to find it.
I just put it in again because there were a lot of thank yous in the chat.
Okay.
Okay, so hopefully I don't want to end before you.
Yeah,
Okay.
got it.
Okay.
Got it. Okay, so if we just click on that, that'll take us to the next one.
Yeah, you'll have to end this one, but just like.
Okay.